Hey everybody. So now we're good. We have the ability to move around in these tabs, and then the tabs change the route up there, and then we get a new uh, whatever we want in the content, and that's awesome, blossom. The problem that we have right now is that if we hit reload, the tabs aren't isn't in the right state. And the there it's okay. The solution for this is kind of like it's pretty simple, but there's a couple timing issues that can get weird, and there's a couple of there's just a couple of things that if you don't know, you don't know. Um, but basically, from 30,000 feet, what we need to do is we need to set the index of these tabs. Usually, if I remember correctly, like this is index 0, this is index 1, index 2, and index 3. So we need to have a way to say, hey, if it's continuous, set it to index 2, and then it'll open up to the right place. Now, that's 30,000 feet. Now we get down to the 10,000 foot range, and the thing is at 10,000 feet, we know, oh, okay, I need a reference to the tab. Like, there's nothing inside the component that tells you what is in the tab, like that gives you any sort of connection to what's in here. So basically, we want to be able to change this thing. Um, we want to be able to interact with this thing the from the component TypeScript. And so basically, that is called getting a reference to it. And generally, the first step of getting a reference to anything is creating what they call a reference variable, a component reference variable, I believe it's called. And it's like it's kind of thing that you have to do pretty regularly, but it's not really regularly enough for me to remember. I do know that we want to put like a hashtag and then tabs. And that now what this I believe has done behind the scenes is it's created a variable that we can now access to in the TypeScript. But and we can also uh, access it in other parts of the template. Now, if you're only accessing it on other parts of the template, it's pretty straightforward. Um, and I don't exactly remember how to do it, but I don't know if you do like maybe that. Let's see what, and then dot, and see it knows what it is, right? So that's pretty good. Um, okay, that is a function. So yeah, so you'd be able to do stuff with that. Yeah, selected index. I believe this is the one that I care about. So that's probably the biggest. Eventually, when you have alerts to do debugging, which was like the only way you could do it back in the 90s, it was it gets annoying. So I'm gonna comment that out. Um, yeah, see, so now our template variable is accessible up here, and we can see the index. But we need to access it from the TypeScript. So I believe what we need to do is we need to create a component property, and that is bound. I don't know if bound is the right word, but that gets a reference to the child, to the view child. And I cannot remember. I think it's view child, but let me go ahead and just get some help from ChatGPT on that. Um, yeah, how can I change the the active tab, mat tab from the TypeScript? So like if someone asked me this question like this, I'd be like, I don't really know what you're talking about. But for so this is one thing that ChatGPT is just extraordinarily good at is knowing. So this guy right here, see, this is what I needed: is at view child, and then tab group was their reference variable. Let's see, do they tell us view child? Okay, view child decorator. What is the tab group? I'm just curious if he calls it a component template variable or template reference variable. Okay, so yeah, so that's our template reference variable. And so we need to get access to it. And the way you get access to it is this. So this is called a decorator. So they have decorators. They make heavy use of this concept called decorators, and it comes from the Angular core. So this is a function that you call and you pass it something, and then it actually decorates the variable. So, and I believe that this name here and this name here do not have to be the same. So this is you it knowing that you are getting the tab group, the thing called tab group in there, and then naming it tab group. You can name it whatever you want. But so I am going to import my view child. I've always found the name view child to be a little bit confusing because it kind of sounds like a verb to me. And I believe in this case it is kind of a noun. This is it's a view child. It's a child from the view, not tell it, hey, show me the child, view the child. So um, in my mind, I often have a hard time like sort of processing that. But at view child, and if you remember, ours is called tab, but I'm gonna name it tab group because in here, just to kind of validate to myself that I don't have to. And I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be happy with this. Okay, so I need to import this mat tab group. So yeah, this doesn't surprise me that it has this error, and that's because like um it's saying, hey, we don't know if this is going to be something. So like there's a couple ways you can deal with this. You could do this, you could say or undefined. And the error will go away. And that's one way to deal with it. The other way you could deal with it is you can hit an exclamation mark here. And this is sort of a shorthand way of saying, hey, don't worry your pretty little head about this. We will take it's going to be taken care of. So you do you and let me do me. And I'm the computer programmer and I'm going to tell you how it is. You don't tell me how it is. That's kind of you being this way. You being this way is kind of like, okay, I acknowledge there might not be something there. And down the road, if you see me working with this thing as if it is there, can you please help me out in the future? So at least, anyways, that's how I think about that. So anyways, I got the tab group. Get rid of a couple extra lines there, and let's see. So now console log, and then I'm actually actually I'm gonna alert. See, there's a few. Okay, alert is one of the only, and I think maybe even the only thing that actually stops the flow of JavaScript. It's actually halting. And that's why they don't really want you using it. And by they, as I'm not sure who they are, but they do not want you to use this. And they would love to get rid of it, but it's just everywhere in JavaScript. Um, when you do a console log, you may or may not get the right value because it's going to the console log sometimes happens after the or generally happens after the asynchronous uh, the cycle has completed. Alert stops the cycle. It totally stops the cycle. So what I want to know is in this situation, do I have the URL? Um, do I have it? Does the tab group exist? Because it may not. Um, the tab group is physically painted inside of the template, and it doesn't necessarily happen after this URL change listener is fired. We don't know what those timings are. That is a classic race condition, and I'm just very curious what it is. So I don't know if you know what a race condition is. Okay, so it does exist. Like if I did this alert tab group here in the constructor. So this is happening after all of these URL things are done. Like if I do it there, see it's undefined. Tab group doesn't exist yet. You can even see that it doesn't exist because it's not on the screen yet. And then now it does exist, even though it's not on the screen yet. It actually does exist. So that means we could probably get away with, and by get away with, I genuinely mean get away with setting the index or focus. I think that's a function, right? Focus tab. Yeah, mat tab focus. So the way it's kind of weird, I kind of wish it said at the very top function, but it doesn't. But it does show it as a function. So focus tab, and you just give it a number. So I'm just going to set it to 2 and see if that works. We'll see if the reference actually is a reference. Oh, so see, it did set to 2. It was fine. And we don't know if they handled that for us behind the scenes or not, but they did. So it looks like in this race condition, the setting the tab group up here, this decorator gets done and gets a good reference to the tab group that we can successfully execute this function on. That works. And I think it's probably going to be pretty reliable. If sometimes that will break if you do a new version, like if you upgrade a version from one version of Angular to another, they may fiddle with the timing behind the scenes, and now suddenly the on URL change event happens before the view child gets access to a tab group. And it is possible, like as we can see from the alert, the tab group hasn't finished building out the tab. It doesn't even exist yet. So the tab group functionality knows how to handle getting this focus tab and then executing that afterwards. But they could change something inside of Angular material, and that may stop working in the future. But for now, I think it's fine. It seems like it's going to be perfectly fine. And it is possible that the alert actually affected things. So let's just see. Let's get rid of the alert and see if it still works. I don't think it worked, though, because... Oh, see, it isn't. So like if we were to do a set timeout, let's just check this. I believe set timeout takes a function in the first, callback function, and then a time. So we'll give it this function to run. Now this is definitely not what we're going to do. I'm just trying to just demonstrate something. So let's see if we just have it wait. Is it? I wonder if it doesn't. I don't know if it actually. It's kind of hard to tell if it. Okay, so we're on logs. Oh, it doesn't even matter. Oh, okay. So that's kind of weird. It like actually highlighted that, but it didn't select it. So let's make it 1 second. Okay, let's go ahead and add some curlies. Let's add an alert. I always find playing around with this to be takes a little bit of experimentation. Okay, so it's not doing what we want. It's like setting that, but it's not actually doing that, and it doesn't do that if we remove the alert. I don't think. And maybe it's because we didn't do a hard. Oh, so it's behaving differently on whether we hit refresh, which we don't really care about, right? Because that's fine, but focus tab is apparently not what we want. Dot. So I feel like I remember this of setting the property being what works. So let's move this. Dot tab group dot selected index equals 2. Okay, so yeah, that is weird that set focus does not work, but that does. All right, so now let's just change this to 0 and see what happens. All right, so now let's go ahead and get rid of the set timeout. Let's see. Oh, okay, so it doesn't even care. Okay, so that's good. Get rid of all this stuff. And okay, so basically the next step would be to basically set the tab, set the index based on whether it's discrete or let's see. Okay, that's weird. So now that's, oh, okay. Continuous logs. Okay, logs, no. Let's try this. If we're not on the little, oh, interesting. Okay, so here's another problem is, okay, so it works if you click on the actual link, but if you click off the link, but just in the tab, it doesn't work. And this is exactly like every time I've ever worked on the tabs in a professional environment, these are the things that come up, like the things that just, you end up dealing with a lot is like just little weird edge cases like this. So the I think what I end up doing is now that we have we can now that we have this thing set up, this template reference variable, we can subscribe to events on it, and whenever we subscribe to the event, then we're going to set the URL, and then believe what I've normally ended up doing is then disabling this router link and just making it to where it's not a router link here anymore, which then often leads to like they liked how it was a hyperlink when you moused over it, and they're like, I when we saw it, we don't want to, when you go back out and it doesn't have the hyperlink and it's gone, and they're like, oh, that's a bummer, we want that. So then you got to figure that out. But anyways, I won't need to figure that out because it's not that big of a deal. um, but yeah, I think we need to get rid of these router links. And then subscribe to the changes, or subscribe to the button click of the tabs, and that, and then programmatically change the URL based on which that. And then that's also another quite often an issue is like how, well, see, that wasn't bad. Let me hit reload again. Oh no, that's not bad. um um but anyways, yeah, so that's probably that for today. This is probably, yeah, a 20-minute video. It's a bit long. um Tomorrow, we'll subscribe to the changes and then set the URL based on that. And then we will, yeah, we'll do that because now there's no way to get to these. And then once we do that, then we'll figure out how to set the right, set the thing based on, set the correct selected tab based on whether you hit refresh or not. And that will be that. And I think, oh, and then we'll load the right components into each tab based on which tab is selected. And or we'll just load them into the proper tab, and that, and then that will be that, and we'll be out of tab, working on tabs. Tabs are tricky. They're the best one though, and they like, you just don't even know how much code you don't have to write, because like things like things like tab or like keyboard interactions and things like that um, are built into this, that you just don't, like, you just don't know how much stuff you just didn't have to, that you don't have to code. And most of the stuff that you don't have to code um, are around like accessibility and 508 compliance and things like that. And it's just like a lot when you use Angular material and you're like, man, this is a real pain in the butt to use. But then you find out that no, this is exactly like, oh, when you hit tab, you should be moving in different sections. And then when you hit keys, you should be moving around in. And they've worked all that stuff out for you. And you're so happy when you pass that. So there are a lot of good reasons to use Angular material. All those good reasons are not necessarily um, like obvious, and they're real, and using Angular material is a real pain in the butt, and upgrading with Angular material, like in the last, this isn't true for like the last 2 years, but it used to be like a huge pain to try to upgrade an Angular material. And Angular material is definitely the kind of library that gives you enough rope to hang yourself. And most places I've ever worked at, actually every place I've ever worked at that used Angular material did hang themselves by writing custom CSS, because they're like, oh, I want to tighten this up, and I want this, and I want that, and they end up with this really intense custom CSS, and then when you try to upgrade, that CSS doesn't work anymore, and that is like, I mean, just there's just no way to overestimate how many times that's been done in software development with Angular material. So should you use Angular material if you're disciplined? Yes, you absolutely should. If you work for a company where you have a project manager that can call any junior developer and have them make all kinds of crazy changes to the CSS and then and just push it through without anybody who really knows what they're doing having a chance to sort of pump the brakes on that, then no. Or maybe even if you have people that know enough to pump the brakes, but they don't have enough juice to stop it. Like I've worked in plenty of places where you just have a project manager that says, no, this is how I want it and this is how it's going to be. And everyone's just like, sorry, that's how it's going to be. She reports directly to a VP. You report directly to a manager, which is like 5 layers below you. So yeah, it's going to be what she wants. And then when things are broken in a year, they're broken. And and you might have been better off without Angular material. And it is so funny to hear when they're like, oh yeah, we can't do an upgrade because we have 18,000 lines of CSS that need to be rewritten, and it's going to take us 2 years to rewrite it. And by the time that happens, there'll have been 4 Angular upgrades. When they find that out, they're like, oh, why did we even use Angular material? So, anyways, I rant. Coding is fun. It's incredible that we get paid, or that some people, like I'm just incredibly blessed that I get paid to write code and do what I love. So I'm not bitter about that. I do find it amusing and sometimes frustrating. But anyways, as usual, happy coding. Bye.